After all, a single morning's interruption will not matter much, said he, when I mean shortly to claim you, your thoughts, conversation, and company for life.
Adele, when lifting in, commenced kissing me, by way of expressing her gratitude for my intercession. She was instantly stowed away into a corner on the other side of him. She then peeped round to where I sat. So stern a neighbour was too restrictive. To him, in his present fractious mood, she dare whisper no observation, nor ask of him any information. Let her come to me, I entreated. She will perhaps trouble you, sir. There is plenty of room on this side. He handed her over as if she had been a lap dog.
I'll send her to school yet,
he said, but now he was smiling. Adele heard him and asked if she was to go to school, sans mademoiselle.
Yes, he replied, absolutely sans mademoiselle. For I am to take mademoiselle to the moon, and there I should seek a cave in one of the white valleys among the volcano tops, and mademoiselle shall live with me there, and only me.
She will have nothing to eat, you will starve her, observed Adele.
I should gather manna for her morning and night. The plains and hillsides in the moon are bleached with manna, Adele.
She will want to warm herself. What will she do for a fire?
Fire raised out of the lunar mountains. When she is cold, I'll carry her up to a peak and lay her down on the edge of a crater.
Oh, qu'elle y sera mal, peu comfortable. And her clothes, they will wear out. How can she get new ones? Mr. Rochester professed to be puzzled. Said he.
What would you do, Adele? Cudgel your brains for an expedient. How would a white or a pink cloud answer for a gown, do you think? And one could cut a pretty enough scarf out of a rainbow.
She is far better as she is, concluded Adele, after musing some time. Besides, she will get tired of living with only you in the moon. If I were mademoiselle, I would never consent to go with you.
She has consented. She has pledged her word.
But you can't get her there. There is no road to the moon. It is all air, and neither you nor she can fly.
Adele, look at that field.
We were now outside Thornfield gates, and bowling lightly along the smooth road to Millcote, where the dust was well laid by the thunderstone, and where the low hedges and lofty timber trees on each side glistened green, and rain refreshed.
In that field, Adele, I was walking late one evening about a fortnight since, the evening of the day you helped me to make hay in the orchard meadows, and as I was tired with raking swaths, I sat down to rest me on a stile, and there I took out a little book and a pencil, and began to write about a misfortune that befell me long ago, and a wish I had for happy days to come. I was writing away very fast, though daylight was fading from the leaf, when something came up the path and stopped 2 yards of me. I looked at it. It was a little thing with a veil of a gossamer on its head. I beckoned it to come near me. It stood soon at my knee. I never spoke to it, and it never spoke to me in words. But I read its eyes, and it read mine, and our speechless colloquy was to this effect. It was a fairy and come from Elfland, it said, and its errand was to make me happy. I must go with it out of the common world to a lonely place, such as the moon, for instance, and it nodded its head towards her horn, rising over Eyre Hill. It told me of the alabaster cave and silver vale where we might live. I said I should like to go, but reminded it, as you did me, that I had no wings to fly. Oh, returned the fairy, that does not signify. Here is a talisman will remove all the difficulties, and she held out a pretty gold ring. Put it, she said, on the 4th finger of my left hand, and I'm yours, and you are mine, and we shall leave earth, and make our own heaven yonder. She nodded again at the moon. The ring, Adele, is in my breeches pocket, under the disguise of a sovereign, but I mean soon to change it to a ring again.
But what has mademoiselle to do with it? I don't care for the fairy. You said it was mademoiselle you would like to take to the moon.
Mademoiselle is a fairy,
he said, whispering mysteriously. Whereupon I told her not to mind his badinage, and she, on her part, evinced a fund of genuine French scepticism, denominating Mr. Rochester un vrai menteur, and assuring him that she made no account whatever of his contes de fées, and that, du reste, il n'y avait pas de fées, et quand même il y en avait. She was sure that I would never appear to him, nor ever give him rings, or offer to live with him in the moon. The hour spent at Millcote was a somewhat harassing one to me. Mr. Rochester obliged me to go to a certain silk warehouse. There I was ordered to choose half a dozen dresses. I hated the business. I begged leave to defer it. No, it should be gone through with it now. By dint of entreaties expressed in energetic whispers, I reduced the half-dozen to 2. This, however, he vowed he would select himself. With anxiety, I watched his eye rove over the gay stores. He fixed on a rich silk of the most brilliant amethyst dye, and a superb pink satin. I told him, in a new series of whispers, that he might as well buy me a gold gown and a silver bonnet at once. I should certainly never venture to wear his choice. With infinite difficulty, for he was stubborn as a stone, I persuaded him to make an exchange in favour of a sober black satin and pearl grey silk.
It may pass for the present, he said,
but he would yet see me glittering like a parterre. Glad was I to get him out of the silk warehouse, and then out of a jeweller's shop. The more he bought me, the more my cheek burned with a sense of annoyance and degradation. As we re-entered the carriage, and I sat back feverish and fagged, I remember what in the hurry of events, dark and bright, I had wholly forgotten, the letter of my uncle, John Eyre, to Mrs. Reed. His intentions to adopt me and make me his legatee. It would indeed be a relief, I thought, if I had ever so small an independency. I never can bear being dressed like a doll by Mr. Rochester, or sitting like a second Danae, with a golden shower falling daily around me. I will write to Madeira the moment I get home, and tell my uncle John I am going to be married, and to whom. If I had but a prospect of one day bringing Mr. Rochester an accession of fortune, I could better endure to be kept by him now. And somewhat relieved by this idea, I ventured once more to meet my master's and lover's eye, which most pertinaciously sought mine, though I averted both face and gaze. He smiled, and I thought his smile was such as a sultan might, in a blissful and fond moment, bestow on a slave his gold and gems had enriched. I crushed his hand, which was ever hunting mine, vigorously, and thrust it back to him, red with the passionate pressure. "You need not look in that way," I said. "If you do, I'll wear nothing but my old Lowood frocks to the end of the chapter. I'll be married in this lilac gingham. You may make a dressing gown for yourself out of the pearl grey silk, and an infinite series of waistcoats out of the black satin." He chuckled. He rubbed his hands.
"Oh, it is rich to see and hear her,"
he exclaimed.
"Is she original? Is she piquant? I would not exchange this little one English girl for the Grand Turk's whole seraglio. Gazelle eyes, her reforms and all."
The Eastern allusion beat me again. "I'll not stand you an inch in the stead of a seraglio," I said, "so don't consider me an equivalent for one. If you have a fancy for anything in that line, away with you, sir, to the bazaar of Stamboul without delay, and lay out in extensive slave purchases some of that spare cash you seemed at a loss to spend satisfactorily here."
"And what will you do, Jane, while I'm bargaining for so many tons of flesh and such an assortment of black eyes?"
"I'll be preparing myself to go out as a missionary to preach liberty to them that are enslaved, your harem inmates amongst the rest. I'll get admitted there, and I'll stir up mutiny, and you, three-tailed bestial as you are, sir, shall in a trice find yourself fettered amongst our hands. Nor will I, for one, consent to cut your bonds till you have signed a charter, the most liberal that despot ever yet conferred.
I would consent to be at your mercy, Jane.
I would have no mercy, Mr. Rochester, if you supplicated for it with an eye like that. While you look so, I should be certain that whatever charter you might grant under coercion, your first act, when released, would be to violate its conditions.
Why, Jane? What would you have? I fear you will compel me to go through a private marriage ceremony, besides that performed at the altar. You will stipulate, I see, for peculiar terms. What will they be?
I only want an easy mind, sir, not crushed by crowded obligations. Do you remember what you said of Céline Varenne, of the diamonds, the cashmeres you gave her? I will not be your English Céline Varenne. I shall not continue to act as Adèle's governess, but that I shall earn my board and lodging, and £30 a year besides. I'll furnish my own wardrobe out of that money, and you shall give me nothing but—
Well, but what?
Your regard. And if I give you mine in return, the debt will be quit.
Well, for cool native impudence and pure innate pride, you haven't your equal,
said he. We were now approaching Thornfield.
Will it please you to dine with me today?
He asked, as we re-entered the gates. No, thank you, sir.
And what for no thank you, if one may inquire?
I never have dined with you, sir, and I see no reason why I should now, till—
Till what? You delight in our phrases.
Till I can't help it.
Do you suppose I eat like an ogre or a ghoul, that you dread being the companion of my repast?
I have formed no supposition of that subject, sir, but I want to go on, as usual, for another month.
You will give up your governessing slavery at once.
Indeed, begging your pardon, sir, I should not. I should just go on with it as usual. I should keep out of your way all day, as I have been accustomed to do. You may send for me in the evening, when you feel disposed to see me, and I'll come then, but at no other time.